Elon Musk has almost single-handedly re-sparked the interest in going to Mars. Now there are many other projects, including NASA's project to send people to Mars by, I think, 2033. One of the biggest threats to Earth ecology, according to experts that analyze these threats, is an invisible asteroid, which, like the extinction crisis with the dinosaurs, comes in unexpectedly and damages a large portion of the Earth's crust and biodiversity. In order to increase the probability of long-term sustainable intelligence, having a new civilization off of the Earth's surface with the technology, with the knowledge base, with the self-generation and sustainability established, is a small step that we can take as a species. And in the longer term, there are thoughts about moving some of our heavy industry into our asteroid belts, into regions of space to make this planet more pristine, more beautiful than it can be, while it is also a factory producing all kinds of pollutants, etc., in the process of manufacturing the products that we use to create well-being. Now, this opens up a new possibility. And the possibility, we can see it when we consider the genetic code. It's a very simple, on the one hand, program. And yet, if you get it right, it leads to an ever-increasing sustainable complexity. If you start the journey off in the right direction, 10, 20, 30, 40, 1,000 years from now, you have a very different species and experience of consciousness than if you start the journey unconsciously or going in the wrong direction. So here's the challenge and the possibility. If we can create recipes. Now, a recipe is something that can be depended on. For example, a great French chef making crêpes Suzette does not need mystery and whim and uncertainty. Can it be done? Maybe it can. Is it God's will? Is it the will of the universe? No. They need milk and eggs and flowers, and orange peel and bits of cognac, and they can make crêpes Suzette every single time. Scintillating, delicious crêpes Suzette, because they have a recipe, and they know what the recipe is. And they know it's a good recipe because every single time they add this amount of flour and this amount of milk and these eggs and whip it like this and then like this and turn the pan to this temperature and a pan of this nature, every single time they follow the recipe, a magnificent set of flavors gets created and bestowed upon the customer, the person receiving that taste, that gift. And we have neglected the process of designing cultural recipes. And we've neglected the data of the things that don't taste very good. And we've neglected the science, whose core tenet is to extract, with measurement and numbers, the patterns. 2.5 tablespoons of baking powder, 1/2 cup of flour, 3 pinches of salt, a little bit of nutmeg. The measurements that are needed to give birth to a magnificent flavor. Now, art on a cultural level, on a human level, is so much more complex because we have feelings. And feelings are the most beautiful and the most horrific of the human experience. Taste has nothing on feelings. The feelings of transcendent purpose, the feelings, the sense of meaning, the joy of healing, the wonder of loving and belonging, feeling loved, feeling understood. These gifts are priceless, just as the loneliness, the hatred, the hurt of being lonely and invisibly lonely and pushed into that place so that someone without the moral character to own their own impact can pretend that what they're doing is for you, when it's really to manage an addiction, a compulsion of their own, for power, for... These are some of the darkest experiences that we can have and do have as human beings. The game of sowing seeds, the game of designing recipes. You see, the scientific method, when applied to cooking, consists of watching a great chef and measuring and labeling every single activity and environmental variable, so that anyone who wants to can make incredible crepes Suzette. And that anyone who wants to can make dried kale chips, if that's what you're into. And anyone you want to, anyone, can make a delicious buffalo mozzarella pizza with olives and fresh basil and red onions, and because the recipe has been laid out. And once you know the recipe, then you can tweak it. Then you can say, a little bit more salt, please. I'm not too into the buffalo mozzarella today. Let's try some ricotta. But you're not reinventing the wheel. You have a template that works. My greatest vision and greatest hope as we do scientific research on what does and does not work as an individual, as a community, as a town, as a country, is that when we do send the first 150 people to Mars, we do so with a recipe that is almost certain to create more human well-being by a factor of 10 than we're currently able to achieve on the planet today. And that, to me, is a worthy goal.